Media station. W265CG Tuscaloosa. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to center and you were playing fullback up there. And I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. And you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to pitch it, and I run back coach said back. Biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Right now.
Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9 on your radio dial, the Martin Houston Show fan page on Facebook Live, Martin Houston Live there, as well as on YouTube. Also, you can find us at Martin Houston 35, at Martin Houston 35 on Twitter. We're live and local and ready to get things going on this Tuesday morning. Glad to have you as a part of the show. The therapeutic hotline is still open for those of you who need to call and talk and relax and release and vent and you know whatever you're feeling today regarding the Alabama Crimson Tide. Hopefully you're over. You don't have to be over it. If you wanna take this week and kind of vent and let it all out, then do so if that's the way you cope. But we will definitely be moving on as Alabama prepares for their next game. And, you know, you have to make sure that Alabama doesn't fool around and lag behind and not be focused this week at practice as they take on the Mississippi State Bulldogs. And, of course, there's a lot of people already saying, well, you know, Mississippi State beat Texas A&M, so that means that they could beat Alabama, and they could. But will Mississippi State receive a beatdown because of the loss that Alabama suffered at the hands of Jimbo Fisher and the Texas A&M Aggies? Well, we'll be talking about that, breaking that down today as we move forward. We'll have DC Capstone report joining us here in a few moments. So we're looking forward to having him on with us this morning. But we always have a place for you on the Martin Houston Show, whether it be via chat and or you calling in the traditional way of interacting with Talk Radio, 205-342-9904. The Taco Casa hotline is open for business, 205-342-9904. Taco Casa, quality, taste, value under the biggest cactus in town. Check them out for lunch and or dinner. All right, we remind you every day before we roll into things that this is a day that the Lord has made, so let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. Good morning, Joe. How you doing, sir?
Oh, Martin, just hanging in there on a Tuesday. Happy to be here and trying to get the week going on the right track.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Get it going on the right track. Alabama coming off of a tough loss. We didn't, and when you get about this point halfway through the season, it's always a good thing to go back and kind of self-evaluate. Nick Saban usually does it each and every week, I'm sure, but here on the show, I decided before we bring DC in that today may be a good day to go back and just kind of give a grade and see if we feel after last week, how do we feel about this team and where we're headed and where we're going, and is this team still, despite being the number 5 ranking, do you feel like this team will still run the table and get back to Atlanta? And if they get to Atlanta, then all bets are back on for this team winning a national title. So, Joe, overall, where do you grade this Alabama team out at after 6 weeks?
I'm probably going to give them somewhere between a B plus and an A minus. I think they played very well considering a lot of the things that they've faced. Well, adding a lot of new faces and having a new offensive coordinator. I think they've played very well. Coach Saban talked about it on Saturday that nothing specifically went wrong. It was just some execution issues, and I think if you iron those out, then you win on Saturday, and the team is still rolling at a very high level. So yeah, Saturday was a blip on the grade chart. Was a bad mark on the grade chart. But overall, through 6 weeks, I think they've had a pretty good start to the season. Been playing at a pretty high level. So I'm probably going to give them a B plus, A minus.
Yeah, and you and I are probably in about the same range. I would say high B plus, low A minus, somewhere in that range. And I look at it from the standpoint of, and I will say his name only briefly because I want to give credit where credit is due. But Feinbaum made a quote that he said everyone else is measured or graded against Alabama, and Alabama is graded against perfection. And I'm not quoting it exactly. He reversed that. I think he said Alabama is graded against perfection, and everyone else is graded against Alabama. And Joe, that makes a huge difference, right? The reality of it is we look at a team that sits in front of us in Oklahoma who has found a way to win. So kudos to them. Kudos to them. But would you take that team over Alabama right now? Right. Okay. So Iowa sits in front of us. Would you take that team over Alabama? Okay. All right. And who's the other one? Okay, Iowa, Cincinnati sits in front of us. Do you take that team over Alabama?
Oh, no.
So the only team, once again, it comes down to, is there anybody else other than Georgia? And even when we were sitting, at if we were sitting at number 1 and Georgia was sitting at number 2, if we had won, would you feel any differently about Alabama being able to beat Georgia if we were still sitting at number 1 if we had pulled that game out? You would still think probably the same way you think about this Georgia-Alabama game. If Alabama doesn't improve in its run game defense, and how they cover the tight end. Think about Georgia. How did Texas A&M hurt us? They hurt us with the running back out of the backfield. They hurt us with key runs at key times, and they hurt us with the tight end. They moved a running back, number 0, out into the flat and hurt us. That's it. That's Georgia. That's Dalvin Cook, not Dalvin Cook. Little brother Cook, James Cook. That is their big tight end, and they have Zeus and Milton and Cook in the running game. So you would probably feel the same way about Georgia if they were sitting at number 2, that Alabama has to get better, right or wrong.
Yeah, you probably felt right.
Yeah, and so if we're gonna grade Alabama, the reality of it is we're grading against perfection, and therefore any other team. And as we were watching the game, I told my daughter, who she was struggling a little bit, and I said, "You realize this is the way all other fan bases watch football on a regular basis. That we're the only team that never." The only fan base that hardly ever has to figure out, oh my God, are we going to come back? Or are we going to make the plays to come back and win? Just about every area of the game, except for the return game for us, to some degree probably made a mistake. Kickoff made a mistake. Kickoff return made a mistake. Kickoff coverage made a mistake. Punt, maybe punt. Yeah, punt. Well, punt didn't have a great night, but didn't necessarily do anything bad. Punt return, of course, was positive. So overall, Pat, as we were going off the air, said he would fire the special teams coach, coordinator. So, I'm not sure whether we're dealing with this team. So as a team, I would say this team is B minus B plus A minus. Somewhere in that range. Now, if we start looking at the team and whether we feel like the team is getting better, how do you feel about the O-line?
I think the offensive line, they've taken a little bit longer this year than normal. Than I feel like normal is to gel. But I think they've done well, but I do think they've taken a little bit longer to gel than in normal years past.
Yeah, and then Virgil Williams says through Game 6, the same stuff that's hurt us in the first game is still there. Who at fault for that? Coaching or players? I'm not saying we can't get there, but there's something to that. I would say that that's both. It's both coaches and players. Coaches can coach. Players have to play. And there was time Saturday that, like, when you look at the play call, of course, I probably would have ran it, but the play call to Billingsley where he threw the ball and it looked like Bryce threw a bad pass and stuff, but it was really a timing route, and Billings and the other receiver got their feet tangled up. That was actually a perfect pass if they don't get tangled up. And Saban didn't say they got tangled up. He just said the route was ran wrong. That's what he was referring to. So there's it's both coaches and players, and we'll get the break here. We got Robert that's holding. So Robert, we'll bring you in with DC. We'll bring DC in, get his thoughts in on the grades as well. But I think overall the O-line has some work to do. And it is the hardest unit to come together. And I think that we may be hurting a little bit because it never gelled during the summer. Usually we go about 3 weeks into camp, and then at least the last week or so, we know who's going to be that starting offensive line. Well, Joe, if I remember correctly, did any of us see Dalcourt as a starting center until literally the last week of camp? When you've kind of taken things off, and I don't think we've gotten to that point yet on our offensive line where we feel totally confident in their ability in all aspects of the game.
Yeah, I think the late switch, kicking Owens out to right tackle, it has cost this, the unit some gel, so some unity. You wonder if J.C. Latham, or if there's a sixth or offensive lineman who can push for any of these spots, but I think at this point, I think that's probably out of the question.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if Latham or George or is Randolph more valuable for those handful of snaps at tight end or more valuable at tackle. Right now, through 6 games, the answer is more valuable at tight end. But 1 week to jail and now into the season and no changes in the offensive line. We'll see if Marone can get things going, get this offensive line, because it starts in the trenches. And no matter how much football changes, we saw Saturday that it starts and ends in the trenches. We're going to continue that conversation. We're going to continue the great conversation. We'll get DC's good, bad, ugly. We'll get his thoughts from this weekend as well as his thoughts moving forward, and we'll get your thoughts as well. Thanks for being part of the Martin Houston Show. Coming back on the other side, we'll continue the conversation. Thanks to the great folks at Taco Casa. Taco Casa, quality, taste, value under the biggest cactus in town. The Taco Casa Therapeutic Hotline, open for business. Once again, 205-342-9904. Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9. We got Robert, who's holding. We got DC joining us, and we got comments on our chat box. Let me clarify. Virgil Williams commenting on the pass that was intercepted. I was not referring to the pass that was intercepted. The pass that was intercepted wasn't necessarily a bad throw, but it was an even greater play by the Texas A&M player who chased Billingsley across the field. The one I'm talking about was late in the game when it was a quick out route and Billingsley and the other receiver got their feet up, and it just hit Billingsley on the fingertips and fell to the ground. So 2 different plays there. I want to make sure because I'm sure everybody else probably thought I was talking about that one too. But anyway, let's bring in DC. DC Capstone Report. How you doing this morning, sir?
Oh, doing great, Martin. How you this morning?
Doing well. Before we get into any conversation directly, Robert's been patient and holding, so let's bring in Robert. Robert, you're in with the Martin Houston Show in DC with DC Capstone Report. What's on your mind, sir?
Yeah, hey, Mike.
Hey, now.
Yep. Hey, I was agreeing with you guys great on the team, but sorry you, Martin, for putting everybody, trying to keep everything in perspective when we all still want to be bad and overreact. Keep everything back down to perspective. You asked the question, do we believe we can run the table for the regular season and still make the championship game? I don't think there's many Alabama fans who don't believe that. Like you said, like you and Joe said earlier, what team would you take over Alabama not named Georgia in the top 5? And the answer is none. I'm not, Georgia's on the fence. It's only 50-50. If you ask me this season, what team would I take? So that's 50-50. So, of course, everything's still in front of the team. And I think, like you guys said, is Alabama's chasing, I guess you could say championship. We grade ourselves against championship. And for everybody else would be happy just to make their next to the playoffs. We won championship or bust. I mean, there's a couple of teams like Clemson won like that with championship or bust. And Georgia this year, too, championship or bust. But, yeah, like Greg said, the grades you guys gave were pretty correct. You can't have a team that can beat just about everybody else in the country and grade them lower than an A- or a B+. For one game. So, yeah, way to put things back into perspective. It is still in front of us. And up to 50% Georgia's been the team for the last, several weeks now. Georgia's the team to beat for us, for the nation. And I think that's the one team Nick Saban, when he was talking about, and everything Nick Saban was talking about, the lack of focus, and players need to do what they need to do. He's been warning us about this for quite some time. He'll do it in his Nick Saban way to say, hey, this team, this is where it needs to be. So and we need to get them there. So I mean, the warning signs were there, and it's just, can they get there? Yeah, I believe they'll still win out the rest of their regular season. But again, that's Georgia's the elephant in the room that keeps hanging over our head. Right now, we don't have a team that can beat Georgia. Can we get there? I don't know. I mean, you guys, do we have a team right now that can beat Georgia?
Well, Robert, I don't know that we do. And what we have to remember is despite what we got to see through 5 weeks, and ultimately in week 6 is we still, I know for us, we go, oh my God, it's Alabama. But we really still have an offense that's really only played 6 games. And so can we get better? Yes, we can get better. We have a defense that should be more elite and better than it is, and it has moments of it. It had a complete dominance against a really. Let's not underestimate what happened against Ole Miss. That was a really, really good defensive performance. The problem is it didn't translate until the second half of Texas A&M. Was that because of preparation, or was that because of the fact that Malachi Moore is the quarterback of the defense? And maybe this week he was the guy who was going to get everybody in the right spot. And losing him early hurt. And at halftime, Golding and the staff may have, and I'm just giving the other side of the coin, other side of the same coin, is did we get a chance to adjust? But somehow, some way, in the most critical moments, we still didn't do it, which tells me there's one word that no one's saying about this team that Saban has said, and I think Saban tried to generate it by the players he picked and by the people he boasts, is leadership. You look at us on the road and at home, we're two different teams. And that's when leadership shows up the most, or lack of leadership shows up on the most when you're on the road.
You're right about Malachi Moore. Again, you don't like to put the fault of losing the game on any one person. And I don't want to do that to him, but I hope he feels like that. We're not doing it, but you need to feel like that so you don't make that mistake again.
Yeah.
Because you got to realize how valuable you are to the team. No, the loss wasn't your fault, but I want you to feel like it was, Malachi. Because, okay, now you realize I can't make that mistake.
And I hate the targeting rule. And a lot of the targeting rules are stupid because players are simply making plays. Malachi Moore, even though that he didn't do anything vicious, he had a choice. Now, a lot of these guys that get hit with targeting, like trying to stop guys at goal line and guys ducking and all that stuff, they're making a typical football play that they had no other choice than to make. Malachi could have did something different in that situation. So he was it was the quarterbacks are considered defenseless. He hit him helmet to helmet, face mask to face mask, above the shoulder. Could they have let it go? Yes. And do I hope they change the rule? Yes. But Malachi could have also pulled up. That was one that he could have done something different. And that's the only thing that I hate about that play, and the inconsistency of human nature. It cost us and didn't cost Texas A&M later. So we'll get off here. Hey, appreciate it, Robert. Thanks, man.
All right, guys.
All right, have a good one. Were we able to get DC back?
I think I'm back on.
All right, DC. Let's get Super Joe, and then I'll get your thoughts on that. Super Joe, you in with the Martin Houston Show. What's on your mind, sir?
How you feeling, Marty Moore? How you feeling this morning, man?
We're good. How about yourself?
Oh, okay. Yeah, but you already know someone Texas and beat Alabama. Okay, now last it was like the 2012 season when it was Johnny Manziel, and this time it was okay. But now this time it's a second string quarterback. But you notice it was both times it was number one Alabama team. Okay, but so I'm a little more sore about this one because Johnny Manziel and they were ranked, all right. And so I say Texas A&M had a really good team. Although I was a little disappointed for like maybe 10 minutes. But we went on and won the championship, and we stayed motivated from that then on out. So I think this should motivate us. Now I wonder how much did Mac? Okay, what's that? Will Anderson? What's that? Will? How much did his word get across with the team? Which I hope it did plenty, because now I'm sure this has really gotten their attention. Because Nick Saban was also concerned about the lack of intensity they were showing in practice. And he was talking about the lack of focus. And then, when you make certain mistakes, it will cost you. But sometimes, it takes sometimes the worst things to happen to get a team together, to get it together. Sometimes that honesty just got to make that 40 F on the grade to let him know he's not to be out there getting complacent. So this where we really made that 40 and F failure. Okay. So now we should really know what time it is by now.
Yeah, well, DC, I'll let you respond.
Well, I mean, I agree with what Super Joe's saying. I can see what he means by that. My whole point of all this is that Coach Saban was telling us all week what was going on with the team. The team wasn't ready. It wasn't prepared. It wasn't bought in. Now you can say what you want to say about that as far as whose job that is, coaches or the players, but obviously, from what Will Anderson is saying, is the players didn't buy into what the message was, and there's some people on the team. It's not like last year's team. It's not like it wasn't at that point. It wasn't. It wasn't all bought in, and I think that was the problem. We weren't focused. We weren't ready. We made too many mistakes, and we weren't prepared. I think that's what it boils down to. And I think I look on the optimistic side of things, and I see that it's a perfect setup for us to run the table. If we can get the team to buy in. But if you don't get the team to buy in, everybody jail and get on one page, it's not going to make a difference down the road.
All right.
No, because like I said, It's got to be one accord because there's no such thing as no I and team and no I and us. So it's all about that one accord. Now, when I say this though, now we like what the woman say on that movie called Soul Food. We could all be that one fit and strike that mighty blow, and we just really try to do that and stuff. Well, now Mississippi State, is going to be very geared up because they got that bye week. I'm going out there that day, but when we go out there play my stuff, but I feel like this though. I mean, but sometimes, like I said, it took the worst ever. But you notice too. Texas A&M beat an Alabama team both. And, Nick Saban losing to an assistant, for the first time, that's hard. But see, thing about it is, he can go and shake the dust, and, he can dust himself off. But, but like I said, lose to an unranked team, I knew how. I mean, I was sick and I was disgusted by it. But I said, you know what? Sometimes it takes these kind of things to happen. They let you know when you don't can be focused in, if those certain mistakes will cost you. So Alabama, no, I'm surprised we didn't get dropped back no further than what we did. But then at the same time, there's other teams, who have lost in the fourth and have lesser schedule. But I feel like this should help Alabama. It should help Alabama. Run the tables, and this should get the players really focused. So I feel like this. Everybody's got a little responsibility to take. But you know what? I believe the Tide can still do it. And I'm going to say, roll Tide, we still can win on out from now.
Roll Tide. Thanks, Super Joe.
I agree.
All right, coming back on the other side, we'll get DC's thoughts on the week. We'll get his thoughts on the impact of Malachi Moore. Will Anderson, did the freshman right tackle for Texas A&M figure out the Will Anderson piece? Will Anderson wasn't as dominant in this game and as disruptive as he's been. So we had a lot of things we can look at that this Alabama Crimson Tide can do, need to do, and will do better if they're going to make a run for another national title. Stay tuned for more conversation with DC Capstone Report right here on the Martin Houston Show.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, no wrecks or delays with traffic moving well around town. Now, if you do see conditions, of course, give us a call, 205-886-8886. Townsend Nissan is taking care of business with an amazing selection, extra rebates, and top dollar for your trade. Go see them. I'm Captain Ray.
Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show, and I want to tell you about one of our great sponsors, Overflow Express Wash. Their mission is to provide great customer service with a showroom clean car and an exceptional customer service experience. They have the basic car wash that starts at $7, but you need to check out the premium wash packages, which start as low as $12 and go up to $20. They also have a membership wash club that you can get for starting at $23.99, going up to $39.99. In other words, just double the regular premium package, drop a penny, and you can be one of the great members of Overflow Express Wash. My family and I keep our cars looking good inside and out by using Overflow Express Wash. They're located on Skyland Boulevard right next door to Alabama 1, or you can find them online at overflowexpresswash.com. Andy Phillips and his team look forward to making you a part of their team.
Join Randy Smalley and me, Captain Ray, for the Randy and Ray Football Forecast, where we pick the games against the spread. It's this Friday night at 11 following the high school scoreboard show on Tide 100.9. Brought to you by Randy Smalley, Floor and Tile.
Tuscaloosa Tire and Service. They've got the big brands you know and trust. Goodyear, Firestone, Bridgestone, Cooper, and they can finance for you as well. When you need routine maintenance and alignment, a tune-up, whatever it is, belts, hoses, just basic stuff, or when you don't know what's wrong with your car, truck, or SUV, make it Tuscaloosa Tire and Service. They're dependable, they're trustworthy. That's why they've lasted for over 36 years. Skyland Boulevard, McFarland Boulevard East, in Northport on Lurleen Wallace Boulevard. Check out the website, TuscaloosaTireandService.com.
Nick Saban calls it the process. John Maxwell said that everything rises and falls on it. And Coach Wooden said it's what you learn after you think you know it all that makes the difference. What am I talking about? Leadership and personal development. Is your organization, your school, your church, your family, are they receiving the proper level of leadership development and personal development? If not, the Empowerment Center for Leadership and Mentoring can help you with that. We have our pep talks, which is a 1 to 1.5 hour lunch and learn, which we can customize to meet your needs, or we have some topics that we present that we know can help your organization. And if you're looking for one-on-one mentoring and coaching, we can also assist you with that. Visit peptalks35.com. That's peptalks35.com, or send an email to martin@martinhouston.org. That's the Empowerment Center for Leadership and Mentoring.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. We're kicking off the second half, and may we take up our game in the second half of today's show the way Alabama's defense did in the second half against A&M, but we got to finish stronger than they did. So let's bring in DC Capstone Report. Good morning once again, DC. Tell us what you got going on, where people can find you, sir.
Well, you can find us at dccapstonereport.com, DC Capstone Report Facebook page, and you can follow me on Twitter at DavidCott50, DavidCott50.
All right. Freelance Pictures and RollTideBama.com. FreelancePictures.com is also a proud sponsor and presents the DC Capstone Report right here on the Martin Houston Show. All right, DC. Getting some different comments and thoughts over on Facebook, so I bring some of that in to the conversation. When we look at this Bama team, how much of Saturday was all about Bama versus A&M and Jimbo Fisher just identifying, maybe since last year what he could take advantage of, but definitely identifying weaknesses and opportunities and maximizing them?
Well, I don't think we can give all the credit to Bama not being prepared. I think Texas had a great game plan, and I think we have to give Jimbo Fisher credit. Plus, you got to, some people will disagree with this, but I think it would have been completely different if Texas A&M had won their first two games. I think Alabama would have been more prepared, and I think that Texas A&M would have had a lot more pressure on them. But there was no pressure on Texas A&M. They were at home. They had a great crowd at night. They had a great game plan, and no one believed they could beat Alabama. And they went in with no pressure. Alabama had all the pressure in the world on them, and plus they weren't prepared. So I think you give Texas A&M credit for a great game plan, for focusing on, hey, we can make our season if we beat Alabama today. We got a lot of things we can hang our hat on if we do that. And they were pumped up. They were passionate. They were focused, and I think they did all the little things right to be able to win the game. And so I think you got to give Texas A&M some credit.
Yeah, I think Jimbo Fisher not saved his job, but he definitely kept the seat from heating up. And I do think that, maybe part of the reason they weren't prepared for those other teams is because they put so much in for Bama. I do not know. But one of the questions you have to ask is, how do you explain from 1 week to the next the difference in our defense? Is it and like I said, I try to look and go, okay, this doesn't make sense. When I watch what that defense did against a Lane Kiffin offense, that is a really, really productive offense. Regardless of what we say, it's Ole Miss, that's a good offense that executes and puts you in a lot of bad formation. A&M, on the other hand, is pretty old school standard. They didn't do anything to try to trick us. So one of two things: either Malachi Moore's absence hurt, or we're not a very physical defense right now. And to Curtis Lewis's thing, do we start questioning? We've already been questioning Pete Golding, so I don't even have to ask that question. But do we question what we have in our D line? And he asked a question: is it time to question even Freddie Roach?
Well, I don't think so. This is what my opinion. You know me, Martin. I don't like to put anything on one person, but one event can change, can have repercussions that go throughout the entire game. And I think the event that took place with Malachi Moore was the linchpin that started. Once that came undone, it started everything that went downhill from that point. And when I say that is, one uncontrolled, selfish move by him. When he makes that decision to do that, he could have pulled up. When he makes the decision to do that, then that started a whole other thing to flowing. And when he's out of the game, Alabama has to go to somebody who hadn't practiced in that position. The game plan was for Malachi Moore to cover the tight end, to be the guy that kicked that slot receiver who moved out of the backfield. Alabama had a good game plan, but that was gone by when that happened. And then you have a guy come in, and Brian Branch, who had not practiced that. He had not been the one to do that. And he was going to try to do something different. Then that got everybody else on the defensive side of the ball. If you look, the defensive side of the ball in the first half changed after that play. There was frustrations. There was lack of communication. There was a lot of different things that went on during that side of the ball. And that was on the players. When they got settled down at halftime and came back, they played a great game. Up into those last two drives, I mean, as far as defensively, they had the right scheme, right thing, but that affected us, and I hate to put it on one event, but that one event changed the course of that whole game.
I'm going to be speaking today at a real estate company, and the title of my message is "The Ripple Effect," and how you can drop one small pebble. And how it has concentric circles that move out from it, and then as it connects with someone else's pebble, all of a sudden that little bitty small ripple effect, when you look out, has changed. All who were connected to it. So it definitely could be the thing. So where does Bama go from here, I guess, is the question. DC, if you're looking forward to what's happening, this team has 6 games left in the regular season. Mississippi State coming in, presenting a little different challenge offensively. So where does this team go? What's your biggest concern coming out of that game, moving into this week?
Well, my biggest concern is something that I think you know what I'm talking about. You can't let Texas A&M beat you twice. We lost that game, but we got to put it behind us. We can't let that be the thing that causes us not to come out and play flat against Mississippi State. We've got to do what Will Anderson said in the press conference yesterday. The players have got to buy in. They've got to change, and they've got to make a difference in this game. I look for Alabama to come out and win the game against Mississippi State, do a great job of correcting some of these things. But we've got to correct the execution issues. I mean, there's a lot of things that we just didn't execute well on offense and on defense. And I think that if we can correct the leadership issues and get that taken care of in the locker room, everybody get on the same page, that'll go a long way in helping to correct some of the execution issues that we lack. If we come out and play that way against Mississippi State, I think it sets us up for the rest of the year. A lot of pressure is off Alabama. We don't have to worry about who's going to be the first coach to beat Coach Saban. We don't have to be worried about maintaining the streak game. All we have to worry about is going out and playing football. And I think that's what Will Anderson was saying yesterday. We forgot that football is what we need to worry about, playing football. And once you forget about that, you make the little mistakes that Alabama's been making. Yeah,
Alabama definitely had some streaks coming in, 19 consecutive wins, 24 consecutive wins over assistants, and 100 against ranked opponents. All those streaks came to an end in one game at one moment, and so the Tide can bounce back. I want you to think about this question as we go to break and answer it when we come back. Is the Alabama coaching staff giving Bryce Young too much flexibility in terms of when he's able to change plays, in terms of audibling? Because it's not just RPOs, it's some audibling going on there as well, it appears. So when you look at that, you have to look at that and see what's the answer. Is he getting too much freedom, or do we now have to start questioning O'Brien and some of the play calling? think about that. We'll answer it on the other side. You listen to the Martin Houston Show, and we're able to do it each and every day thanks to the great folks over at Alabama One Insurance, your one source for your insurance needs. We'll review your policies, we'll reduce your premiums, and we will let you or help you relax knowing that you're properly covered. That's alabamaoneinsurance.com, where you can go put all the information in and request a quote right there online. We'd love to assist you at Alabama One Insurance. Alabama One Insurance, 2-minute warning up next.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, no wrecks or delays with traffic moving well around town. Now, if you do see conditions, of course, give us a call, 205-886-8886. Townsend Nissan is taking care of business with an amazing selection, extra rebates, and top dollar for your trade. Go see them. I'm Captain Ray.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Tuesday morning, 34-year-old Bibb County Correctional Facility inmate Travis Hutchins is dead after suffering injuries in an assault by another inmate who had a weapon last week. He's one of more than 30 inmates who have died after being attacked by another inmate since 2019 in Alabama prisons. His lawsuit against the state claiming indifference toward violence was dismissed by a state court, but helped spark the U.S. Department of Justice investigation that led to a lawsuit against Alabama. I'm Doug Hartley.
Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show, and I want to tell you about Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing. If you're looking for a way to add value to your home, make your flower beds pop, make your landscaping stand out from your neighbors, then Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing can help you do just that. They have numerous styles, but they feature the Moroccan Stone Curb series, which includes 4 great styles and unlimited color choices. That's Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing. They are the one that can help you stand out from your neighbors. Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing, 205-331-6823. You may also find yourself with the need for a custom size stone or custom shaped stone. Then Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing can help with that as well. Paul Fuller and his team are waiting on your call right now for that free quote. And if you tell them that Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show told you to stop by, you'll get a big discount. So call Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing at 205-331-6823 or visit them online at Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing, LLC.
So, what are you sipping? Whether it's our freshly ground coffee to wake you up or an icy Polar Pop cup or froster to keep you going, our new Sip and Save drink subscription at Circle K will keep you refreshed every day. Join Circle K's Sip and Save and grab any size drink every day for just $5.99 a month. Yeah. Start sipping and saving today. Just sign up with your mobile number when you check out at Circle K. Limited time offer at participating locations.
Hey, Bama fans, before you head to the stadium to watch the Tide roll, stop by JD's Market and Spirits for all your tailgating needs for Bama football games. Located only 3 blocks from the stadium, JD's offers over 500 liquor items, 400 wine items, and a huge selection of craft, domestic, and imported beers. JD's also has hot dogs, snacks, ice, and game day supplies. Everything you need for tailgating. JD's Market and Spirits, 400 yards from Bryant-Denny Stadium on the west side. Call 722-2113.
Brought to you by Dell. For your small business needs, call a Dell Technologies advisor today at 877-ASK-DELL.
The sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team. The Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, let's get back into the conversation. We're going to get one more thought, maybe 2, on DC regarding the Texas A&M game, but we'll also get his thoughts regarding Mississippi State. As we're going to break there, DC, I ask you the question, is this coaching staff, offensive coaching staff, Bill O'Brien and others, even though he's really mature, even though he seems to have a good grasp on offense, are they giving Bryce Young too much flexibility and too much freedom in key situations and circumstances?
I don't think so, and the reason I don't think so is I don't think they give him freedom, full freedom. I think they give him a play to change to if he sees this look. If you see this, change to this play, and I think a good defense on the other side has caught on to that. If you can show this look, and then you do something different to get them to change once they change the play, but you know what to change it to. So I think it's on the play calling. I go back to play calling. I go back to, not running the ball when you're inside 5-yard line, I'm sure you were jumping off the couch as a former fullback to not running the ball when you're inside the 5-yard line there. And so I think this play calling. I think we have to start questioning some of the play calling.
Yeah, without a doubt. And the fact that we did not go to a big set, and if you go back and look, several times we came out and I was screaming, "Where's the running back? Where's the running back?" Because when we came to the line, we actually was showing them, like a 5 wides look or 4 wides based on whether we had a tight end or not. Inline tight end, and then we would of course shift Brian Robinson back into the backfield. But when you're down there, it's one thing to have a running back beside you in open field, DC. The difference between goal line and open field from a running back standpoint is whether I'm going downhill or moving or not, or am I waiting, sidestepping, shuffling on the snap of the play. And if the quarterback is not a legit threat to pull it, if 99% of the time he's going to give it, then those plays don't have as much impact. And it seems like we just chose the wrong, regardless of whether Bryce changed the play or not. And I do think that Bryce may have changed from a run to a pass on a couple of those. Regardless of that, we came out in a pass formation in personnel. I mean, not pass formation. We didn't come out to run the ball and shift out of that. And I think that we were running it good enough, DC, to do that with Brian averaging over 6 yards a touch.
No doubt we were running it good enough. Let me ask you this question, Martin. As a former fullback on the 92 championship team, what would you feel like if the coaches sent in a pass play when you were down inside the 3-yard line, when you've been successful running the ball, you're blocking for the tailback? The message that it sends to our offensive line, not very good in my opinion. And so if you were trying to get an offensive line to gel and play together, then you got to show some confidence in them. And they had a back that was running 4.5 yards to carry, and it worked in other situations. So to not even try to bring the jumbo package in to get to 2 or 3 yards, running 3 yards and being stopped at the 1-yard line and kicking the field goal would be better than throwing the interception. So in my opinion, they should have tried at least one run on that play. And I think that goes up to play calling, not on changing the play.
Yeah, and that's why I was saying is we started off, even if he does have more freedom than he needs, he doesn't have the freedom to change the personnel grouping, and we started off in more of a personnel grouping that was not geared toward goal line, short yardage, and you'd have had to stop me 4 times. And I know I'm old school, but sometimes old school and tradition becomes old school tradition because it worked. So let's flip over to Mississippi State. Mississippi State off week. What are you expecting as they prepare, or as Bama prepare to take on Mississippi State?
Well, I think there's no better coach in America than Nick Saban to coach after a loss. I think he's got his players ready. Those that are speaking with one voice are getting the players ready. I think we're going to come out and play a great game against Mississippi State. First of all, Mississippi State, I believe, is going to pass the ball. They don't have the running game that most of the teams we play against will have. And I think our defense will hold up well against them. I think our offense will have a field day. I think we'll be able to run and pass the ball against Mississippi State. So I don't look for us to have any trouble as long as we don't let Texas A&M beat us again. And you know what I mean by that.
Yeah, so a couple quick questions, rapid fire for you. Will they may not have a tight end, but they'll try to figure out how to get that matchup. Will we fix the backs and tight end coverage issues that's kind of been there all year? Texas A&M just fully exploited it.
Yeah, I think we can get that fixed. A lot of that has to do with execution, and some of it in the Texas A&M game had to do with Malachi Moore not being in the game. So I think we get it fixed against Mississippi State.
Wild Tide. I'm just giving it a name because by week 6 I thought we would have seen it, and I thought it was a couple opportunities we had to see it. Will we see the Wild Tide formation, DC, with Jalen Milroe either in short yardage and or goal line situation against Mississippi State?
I don't think we're going to see it in this game. I really don't. I don't think we're going to need it. I don't think we're going to see it.
So, do you think we have that in, and we're saving it for that moment?
I think there's a package, and I don't think we'll see it against Mississippi State. I think we're saving it for a particular purpose.
Oh, well, we just had that purpose. Oh, I'm sorry. So, what are your thoughts on B-Rob's emergence as the starting running back at Alabama, and is he the guy that can continue to improve and carry this team as a complete back in tune with what Najee Harris did last year?
Yeah, I've always been high on Brian Robinson. I think he is a complete back, and I think he is in good shape. I think he's able to carry the ball 30 to 40 times a game and still be fine. So I look for him to continue on and continue growing as a player and continue doing a good job this year leading this Alabama rushing attack.
Now, will we see a starting tackle, a new starting tackle, or will we see a different tackle? Maybe not even start, but get some reps against Mississippi State potentially in its offensive line.
I don't think so, Martin. You and I had this conversation back in the spring, back in the summer when we found out that we're moving out Owens. And I think you and I both agreed if Owens was Owens going out to right tackle because Delacourt was a better center, or because he was the guy that's the best they could put on the field. And I believe that there's something with our young tackles that just hadn't gelled yet. There's some lack of trust there. Or we would have already, believe me, if there was somebody better than him, we'd already seen him there.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at, DC, is why haven't we seen it? And did we see enough Saturday that maybe we make that choice and that decision? I'm trying to decide. I haven't decided whether we'll see one of those young guys in with the first group or not. I think it's possible, and I'll watch how things go this week. But DC, give us your closing thoughts and your prediction for Mississippi State.
Well, I think Alabama's going to come out and play a great game against Mississippi State. I don't think that Mississippi State has the athletes that Texas A&M has. I know they beat Texas A&M, but I think that's because Texas A&M wasn't focused. If Alabama comes out focused and does a good job, I expect Alabama to win this game and win handily. So I got us winning the game 52-17.
52-17. All right. Well, DC, we appreciate you. We'll catch up with you next week. And once again, tell listeners where they can find you.
You can find us at DCCapstoneReport.com, DC Capstone Report Facebook page. You can follow me on Twitter at DavidCott50. And don't forget to check out Lance's other great sites at RollTideBama.com and FreelancePictures.com. Thanks, Martin. Have a great day and Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. All right. As we wrap up Tuesday edition, we'll be back tomorrow on Wednesday for a Wild Card Wednesday edition of the Martin Houston Show. We got more to discuss with Bama versus Mississippi State and continue to evaluate last week's disappointing loss. Will we grow from it? We'll see. You listen to the Martin Houston Show. And for Joe Gaither, all of our listeners, guests, callers, viewers, chatters, thank you for being part of the Martin Houston Show. And remember this, trust in the Lord always. Lean not your own understanding. All your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. Roll Tide and have a blessed
day. Thank you for listening to the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Thanks, Jeff.